My name is Matthew Goodwin. I'm an interdisciplinary professor, joint between the Bouvet College of Health Science and the Curry College of Computer Science, and I am a core faculty member of EAI. Good question. We primarily use non-dominant hand. We did not do a systematic evaluation of dominant hand versus non-dominant hand. It was mostly practical. Where could they tolerate wearing the sensor for the longest period of time when they may not be using that limb to do more instrumental tasks? Hard to say because there's probably individual differences. When we've only looked at the level of if we include the cardiovascular and the electrodermal versus the motor activity. We've not looked at the relative contribution of the cardiovascular versus the electrodermal. Great question. I anticipate it will be very useful. We have not done much yet with data visualization. This is such a big and complex multivariate data set that I think visualization might give us some insight about what's shared and what's unique across people and maybe across time within people, and is always very helpful to generate new hypotheses that we could test or to better relay what we think is happening biologically and related to behavior in a more accessible and approachable way. So I have spoken to families and individuals with autism who can verbally articulate that they would love to be able to understand when their internal physiological state is changing, to learn more about maybe what environmental situations are increasing or decreasing their distress, and to be able to deploy more self-regulatory mechanisms, like taking a deep breath or telling somebody I need a break, or engaging in activities that might be soothing to them before they take on a task that requires more of a demand from them. Good question. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what novelty responses might mean from the person asking the question, but I will say that if we get labeled data where you can reliably identify a behavior or a behavioral state, we could explore whether physiological features are associated with and predictive of those events. I don't have any reason to believe that our results are specific to autism and aggressive behavior. But they may have less flexible routines, which makes this more consistent, which helps the classifier make a prediction because it's seen it before. The more variable the behavior or ways to perform a behavior, I would think are going to be harder to predict reliably. Good observation, good question. I can approximate an answer. We do see that our AUCs are better making a shorter prediction into the future using a longer duration of data from the past. As we go further out into the future, our error rates increase. It's also a little tricky to answer this question because we've balanced the data. Most of the data set is comprised of periods of time when they're not engaging in aggression. So if you leave the data unbalanced and now you were to look at positive predictive value, it might not be as high as 0.80 area under the curve. Probably the best way to answer that question would be a real-time trial where you are issuing notifications or you're suppressing them, like a randomized trial, and you're asking the family to tell you if when you said an event occurred, it did, or when you said it was going to occur, it did not. And then is there a measurable difference between delivering the notification or not in the subsequent behavior?